Cleco is continuing to monitor Tropical Storm Francine, which is forecast to make landfall on the Louisiana coast tomorrow. Colin Vidros has what you need to know.
As Tropical Storm Francine heads closer to the Pelican State, Cleco is helping central Louisiana stay prepared before, during, and after the storm. Cleco says in addition to personnel, the company has secured approximately 1,700 distribution and transmission contractor resources. Now, this includes line mechanics, damage assessors, and vegetation specialists.
Making sure that specialized equipment like helicopters, drones, and off-road vehicles are on standby if needed.
In a statement, Cleco's Director of Distribution Operations and Reliability says they are also closely following their emergency response plan. The plan entails staging areas to house materials and supplies, secure lodging for out-of-area workers, and make sure specialized equipment like helicopters, drones, and off-road vehicles are on standby if needed. And most importantly, if you see a downed power line around your home, do not go near it, but instead call 911 before calling Cleco to remove the downed line.
And of course, you don't want to approach power lines. You don't know if they're energized. It's a huge safety risk, and we really want people to keep in mind of that. But, you know, even just some basic safety tips to follow before, during, and after a storm is having flashlights, a battery-powered radio, and extra batteries, making a list of important phone numbers and family contact numbers, making sure your cell phone's charged. Also planning for medical or special needs, making sure you have medication on hand. Operating portable generators outdoors in well-ventilated areas, that's a big one. And plugging appliances directly into generators with grounded extension cords. You never want to plug a generator into a wall outlet. And again, we really want to emphasize with the down power lines, you never know that if they are live, so you want to assume that they are, and you want to stay away.
And be sure to stay weather aware and to keep up with the latest closures and delays in central Louisiana. In the newsroom for News Channel 5, I'm Colin Vidros.
And to report the down power lines at your home, first call 911 and then call Cleco at the number you see on your screen. Again, make sure to call 911 before calling Cleco and do not go near the down power line.